Let's put on a fresh set of lashes. So I taught myself how to do lashes about 5 months ago. It definitely saves a lot of money from doing eyelash extensions. But I will say they took a little bit of practice to get used to how to put them on my eyes. I did have to watch a lot of tutorials, and I also had to do a lot of like trial and error with different type of clusters to see what I liked on my face and my eyes. With that being said, this is my favorite brand of clusters so far. You could get them off Amazon. They're pretty cheap, but what I found was I like a wider cluster, and I also like a thin band. So a lot of them have a thicker band, and it's very uncomfortable on your eye, and also if you don't do it high enough, you will see it in your line of vision. Another thing that took some practice was my lash mapping. I did have to do it a couple times to figure out what lash map I liked for my face. I also don't like super thick and black lashes. I like a more natural look. So the lash map that I particularly like is shorter on the outside, longer in the middle, and then short again on the inner. So I start with a 10 on my outer, then I go to a 12, a 14, 10. And that's my lash map. This is what they look like up close. You could tell they're all different lengths here, but they're super soft, they're not stiff, and they don't irritate my eye. So I always start out with doing is taking my flat tweezers like this, and I pull them off and line them up on this side. That way, once the glue's on my eye, I could just quickly pick them up and put them on rather than letting the glue dry on my eye while I'm trying to take them off the board. Well, you could see, but this is what I do. I line them up all right here. So I have a 10, a 12, a 14, and then a 10. And then depending the look, if I need an extra in my inner, I'll do another 10. Second step to this is the glue. Depending on my usage, I do use 2 different glues. Day to day, where you could take them on and off and remove them with an oil, is a typical Bond and Seal. This is a lot easier to use, especially if you're a beginner. They stick really easy and immediately, but they also come off pretty easily because you can use the oil. If you're a little bit more advanced, I use the Ardell glue. This stuff definitely lasts longer. When I use this, that is locked on my eye for days. Where sometimes the Bond and Seal, if it gets too wet or if you're a side sleeper and you're constantly rubbing, it can totally come off. So if you're starting, definitely do a Bond and Seal. But if you're used to doing your own lashes, I would definitely recommend the Ardell adhesive. Because this is for a wedding and I need it to last, I'm doing them today and I need it to last all through Sunday and into next week. Before I do a new set, I'm gonna use the adhesive because I know it'll definitely last that long. And by the way, both of these are waterproof, so you can shower with them, swim with them. Obviously, the less you get them wet, the longer they'll last. So to start, I'm gonna go ahead and curl my lashes. This just helps to kind of lift them up so that they match when you put the fake one on. So with the adhesive, this stuff you want to get tacky. You don't want to put it on your eye when it's super wet. So after you dip the cluster in this, you want to almost like wave it in the air. Some people use a fan, but for like 30 seconds so that it gets a little bit tacky before sticking it to your lid. You want to hold it like this with the tweezer. This way, you're only doing the bottom part of the cluster. You're not dunking this whole thing in here. You're just doing a thin layer on the bottom. Just dipped my first cluster. You definitely can't see, but it has a very thin layer on it, and then I'm just gonna blow on it a little bit before placing it underneath my lash, and you want to get it as close as possible. Sorry, I couldn't do that on the camera. Once it's on, you just want to push up a little bit so that it sticks to your lash. And again, you're not putting this on your waterline, otherwise it'll totally get irritated. You just want to put it right above the line and at the root of your lash so that it sticks, and then you just press it a little bit, and then I'm gonna go so forth. And also, one thing to note, do a little bit of extra glue on your outer lash because the corner of your eye, just the way it creases, tends to lift a little bit, so you always want a little bit of extra glue on this one. Before I put my second one on, I'm going to be sure to very slightly overlap them so that there's no gapping in between the clusters. And after it's on, you just push up. See how there's no space in between them? Cluster number 3 on. And in between clusters, you just want to kind of like fan it a little bit so that the glue dries and that when you go to put the other cluster on, it doesn't move. This is my full lash map. I don't know if I want to do one more in my inner corner. Usually I don't like it to go in that much. It just looks a little bit more natural when I leave it like this, but because it's for a wedding, I haven't decided yet. That'll be a game time decision. After you do all your clusters, you take your flat tweezers and then you're just gonna bunch them all together and press down. That way your actual lashes blend in nicely with them, like that. Okay, I'm gonna do my other side and see if I wanna do one more in the inner corners after I finish. Also, when you use the adhesive, you don't need a seal. Like when you use this, how you do the bond and seal, you don't need that with the adhesive. And there we have it, the most easy DIY lashes. Then lastly, just take a spoolie brush and you're just gonna brush top down to make sure they're all even. And there you have it. These suckers are not moving.